While the Constitution bars a third presidential term, Trump's rhetoric keeps hinting at trying to rewrite that rule anyways.
I'm not sure Trump is trying to rewrite the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution. I doubt if Trump has ever even read the Constitution or understands what's in it.
No shot.
No chance. In an interview, he didn't even know what the presidential oth had to say in the Constitution, even though he took the presidential oath.
No, that has
twice.
to be made up. He had to know.
He did not.
Oh, my God.
It's hard to believe, but he didn't seem to know.
Oh, my God.
Here's what the press has reported.
Oh.
President Trump has continued to toy with the idea of a third term, even though the U.S. Constitution limits him to 2 terms. Speaking with reporters on October 27th, Trump was asked about Steve Bannon, his former chief strategist, who said there is a plan to keep Trump in office past his limit. Asked if he would challenge a court to get permission to do so, Trump said, "I really haven't thought about it." Do you believe that for a second, Sam?
Sort of. I feel like he doesn't think that deeply about things, but I'm sure he's thought about having a third term plenty.
He's ruminated about it continuously for months. He went on to say, quote, "We have some very good people, as you know, but I have the best poll numbers I've ever had."
Huh?
Yes. Of
I thought he has like the worst poll numbers.
The worst poll numbers. He's down to 40%.
Oh, my God.
One of the worst, except for him in his first term, any president has ever had at this point in a term, well under a year into the term. He said in terms of running for a third term, quote, "I would love to." And then, of course, Trump is never linear. He's never straightforward. He's never clear. In other statements, he seems to have backed off the idea of running for a third term or finding some way even to stay in office without running for a third term. Here's what the 22nd Amendment actually says, which I'm sure Trump has never read. Quote, "No person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice, and no person who has held the office of president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected president shall be elected to the office of president more than once." It could not be more clear.
That makes sense.
You cannot be elected again, Trump.
Right.
You cannot hold the office of president, it goes on to say. And yet, someone close to Trump, like Bannon, has said there's maybe some way that he is going to try to do this. And there is even the possibility that he will simply try to stay in office past his second term without actually running again.
No.
In a speech to a Christian group, he said, "I love you Christians. You're going to vote for me this time, and you may never have to vote again. I repeat, you may never have to run again." What could be more ominous than that?
Yeah.
Trump has also said, "I will say this, so many people want me to do it. I have never had requests as strong as that." This is typical Trump. He always refers to many people saying things or, complimenting him or telling him something. Of course, we never know who these many people really are.
My take is that he's half trolling, half serious. If they can figure out a way to do it, then he'll be serious. If they can't, he'll just say it was one big troll. But I think what you just said is probably most likely to happen. Is he going to run again and have a whole election? I don't think that's going to happen. But if they can figure out a way, like you said, to continue him on to a third term, through some sort of martial law loophole or something like that, I think they might actually try to do that.
Exactly. They could invoke the Insurrection Act, saying there is a national emergency. We need to call off the election, at least for a time, and Trump will continue to serve in office. That is not beyond the pale for this administration, for Trump and his allies. Not even close. Also, the question is, will Trump be healthy enough in 2028 to serve again as president?
That's a good point, yeah.
You know, we heard that he had an MRI, a very serious scan at his very recently from one of his doctors. According to experts in the field, and I'm not a physician, I'm not a medical expert, but experts have said an MRI is not part of a routine scan. You don't get an MRI for no reason. There has to be something going on for you to get an MRI. I've got an MRI myself in dealing with medical conditions. I've never had an MRI just randomly in a medical examination. And have they told us why Trump got an MRI? No. They claim to be the most transparent administration in history. They are in the sense that Trump constantly talks, but they are not in the sense that they will provide you with real, accurate, important information. We still are totally in the dark about why Trump got the MRI. Of course, he says the results were perfect, but everything's perfect for Trump.
So do you think, what's your take? How much of this is real? Obviously, there are people working behind the scenes for Trump to try to figure out if this is a viable option. What do you think are the chances they actually start some sort of action in that direction?
I wish I could say they're going to adhere to the Constitution. Conservatives claim to be faithful to the plain meaning of the text of the Constitution. But this administration isn't faithful to anything but Trump himself. I hate to say this. While I don't think it's likely, I think there is a non-negligible possibility that they will try in some way, not to have him run again, but to scheme through the Insurrection Act, martial order, a national emergency, to have him continue in office. Let's not forget, the 220 election, according to Trump's own Justice Department and cybersecurity operation, was the most secure and fair in U.S. history, and he did everything in his power to try to overturn it, including unconstitutionally, unlawfully trying to get Mike Pence as vice president to unilaterally invalidate electoral college votes.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I just can't picture him going through a whole nother presidential campaign and election.
No, I agree with that.
And while he's doing that, the whole country's going to be like, wait, this guy can't run for a third term. Yeah, they're going to do some sort of, sleight of hand, sneaky little thing to try to, like you said, keep him in power.
Without an election.
Without an election, maybe. Or maybe they'll have the election between Vance and whoever the Democrats running, and at the last minute they'll do something tricky and but we need Trump to be president for another month, and that month turns into 3 months and then 6 months, and then people are like, wait, didn't we just have an election and someone was voted in, now they're not getting inaugurated? I think they could do something like that for sure. Even pose the veil that there's an election happening, but at the last minute pull some sort of...
Absolutely. I put nothing past this administration, as we'll see when we talk about some of the other extraordinary actions this administration has taken. Thanks for watching our video, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and become a member today.